Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today, we bring you some news. Prince William's instant revenge after Camilla removes Charlotte's picture palace. Shaken. The palace is in chaos when Camilla's order to take down a portrait of Charlotte sparks a royal firestorm. William's quick response leaves the Queen shaken. In the carefully controlled and exclusive realm of the British monarchy, where every move is watched and every picture tells a narrative, one little choice has sparked a heated and very personal fight behind the golden gates of Clarence House. A quiet request from Queen Camilla to take down a picture of her step-granddaughter Princess Charlotte has reportedly turned into a big family fight, with the new queen and Prince William, the future king, fighting over legacy power and the very soul of the modern monarchy. Sources within the royal household, who asked to remain anonymous because the issue is so sensitive, have described a series of events that started with an empty spot on a wall and ended with a direct encounter that has left the palace hierarchy in shock. Prince William, who is known for being calm and following the rules in public, is said to have stepped in quickly and with authority. This not only overturned the Queen's order, but it also sent a clear and unmistakable message: his children's legacy, and by extension, the memory of his mother, Diana, Princess of Wales, should not be messed with. What made Queen Camilla's edict so controversial? And how did the Prince of Wales plan a reaction that was so successful that it allegedly left his stepmother, the Queen, terrified and drove her to go into a quiet retreat? The story of the lost painting is more than just a palace intrigue. It shows how the House of Windsor under King Charles III is full with tension, old scars, and changing power dynamics. The vanishing portrait. A missing thing that said a lot. It didn't start with a speech. It started with a deep, uncomfortable stillness. One morning, the pale London sun shone into the East Gallery of Clarence House, which is noted for its neatly organized collection of family photos. A senior staffer stopped for a minute, breaking her routine. There was something wrong. The walls, which showed that the royal line had been going on for a long time, seemed different, as if a beloved memory had been obliterated on purpose. The assistant, who has worked for the royal family for more than 15 years, saw it right away. A picture of Princess Charlotte that her mother, the Princess of Wales, took to celebrate her 9th birthday, was gone. The picture had become a quiet favorite among the staff. It showed a moment of unguarded happiness and a glimpse of the confident, charming attitude that many people think is a sign of the young princess. Charlotte's face in the picture showed an elegance and self-control that appeared to be beyond her years. But the fancy silver frame was gone now. There was nothing on the wall. It hadn't been replaced. It had just been taken away. By noon, rumors were spreading through the complicated halls of the royal mansion. Staff who had been taught how to be discreet didn't answer direct queries. Instead, they used the court's coded language. Was there a rotation of curators? A subtle rearrangement? But the reality seemed more direct. There were pictures of her brothers, Prince George and Prince Louis, on each side of the portrait of Charlotte. They made a triptych that showed the future of the monarchy and promised stability and togetherness. The presentation was broken now that Charlotte's picture was clearly missing. The empty space was really clear. Experienced staff members who had worked for both the late Queen Elizabeth II and the current King Charles knew the unwritten laws of palace optics. Portraits are more than simply decorations. They make strong messages about politics and personal life. They mean acceptance, support, prominence, and most significantly, legacy. Taking one away sends a message. The first person to say that things were becoming worse behind closed doors was a cleaner who had worked for the Wales family for more than 10 years. They didn't move George's. They didn't move Lewis's, she told a close co-worker in a low, strained voice. Only Charlotte's. It was taken away like she didn't belong. The word belong lingered in the air like a heavy weight. Princess Charlotte, who is clever, strong-willed, and already displaying signs of the same subtle charm that her late grandmother Diana had, has been gently removed from the visual story of her grandfather's official London home. The deed seemed planned, a modest but strong statement of a new order. By nightfall, the bad news had traveled the short distance from Clarence House to Kensington Palace. A junior staff member at Kensington heard the rumors while talking to someone at Clarence House about regular logistics. He casually brought it up while talking about the day's deliveries, thinking it was an important operational issue. One person who was there said that the room transformed from busy to quiet in an instant. The Princess of Wales, who is famed for keeping her feelings private in public, is said to have felt a knot tighten in her chest. Catherine's public and private actions are all part of a long-term plan to provide her kids a solid, caring, and strong foundation. Charlotte has always been very interested in her family's heritage and loves going to the magnificent imperial houses. Taking her picture down without warning or explanation seemed like more than simply an insult. It felt like a cruel and planned act. But the mood didn't really change from worry to frigid rage until the Prince of Wales got back home. He listened carefully as they told him the information, and with each word his jaw tightened. He got the message clearly and chillingly, with only one action: taking down a tiny painting. It was an act that couldn't be ignored, whether it was about showing power, taking control, or something far more personal and connected to the past. William had lived in a palace where actions spoke louder than words. He had seen with his own eyes how pictures could make or break a reputation, let people in or keep them out. He understood just what this meant. He got up from his chair and headed to his private study without saying anything further. All day the storm had been building up without anybody noticing. It was about to shatter now. His next action wouldn't be loud, but it would be important and memorable for Queen Camilla. The power of palace optics, not just a picture frame. To have a sense of how big this event was, you need to know how important images are to the royal family. For hundreds of years, portraits have been the main way to shape public opinion, solidify dynastic control, and tell the official story of the monarchy. The Windsors have always been great at showing things off, from Holbein's scary pictures of Henry VIII to the televised spectacle of a coronation. In today's world, this has meant carefully choosing which pictures to display in royal homes. These aren't just random pictures of the family. Every location is a planned choice. A prominent picture in a public chamber of Buckingham Palace or Clarence House shows how important that person is and how safe they are in the family's core. A former royal courtier says, "Nothing on those walls is there by accident." There is a lot of talk about the choice framing and location. A picture of the king or queen with their successor shows that things will stay the same. A picture of the grandkids is a sign of family togetherness and the future. Taking one away, particularly a kid, is like crossing out a line in an official document. It's a planned editing of the family tale. Queen Elizabeth II used this unconscious language with great skill and subtlety. The pictures on her desk during her yearly Christmas show were carefully picked to communicate signals about who was in and to show changes in the family dynamic. Queen Camilla knows this power very well, since she has been living in the dangerous waters of royal life for more than 50 years. Her rise from hated mistress to famous queen consort has been a master study in how to control your image and public relations. She probably knows better than anybody else how a picture can change a legacy. Insiders say that since she became queen, she has been more involved in curating the look of the royal homes she now owns, such as Clarence House, where she has lived with King Charles for a long period. At times, this has caused problems. Some longtime employees have noticed that there are less and fewer pictures of the late Princess Diana on display in the more public sections of the palaces. Some people think that Camilla did it on purpose to make her predecessor's presence less noticeable, while others say it was just a natural change to represent the current queen. A family member said, "Camilla has always had a complicated relationship with Diana's legacy, and by extension with Diana's children and grandchildren. People say that she thinks that the public's and even the media's interest in the Waleses, especially Catherine and Charlotte, frequently overshadows her own job and position. People think that she still feels like she's competing with ghosts, even if it's not true. We need to look at Charlotte's picture removal in the context of this complicated psychological terrain. It wasn't only a matter of choosing how to decorate the inside, it was a power move, a little but important move on the royal chessboard. And by doing so, Camilla may have seriously miscalculated the one player who would never let his daughter become a pawn. An order hidden in elegance. The Queen's quiet command. The order was not given as a formal order. There was no memo or argument. An assistant who was there said it happened during a normal afternoon meeting in the morning room at Clarence's house. Queen Camilla waved her hand in the direction of the East Gallery as she stirred her Earl Grey tea. She is believed to have said, "That one," in a calm and controlled voice. The girl in the blue dress. It doesn't suit the mood of the space anymore. Put it in storage. The words were perfect, hidden under the language of art and taste. But for the people in the room, there was no doubt about what it meant. Princess Charlotte was the girl in the blue dress, and the tone of the room was a polite way of saying the story Camilla wanted to tell. The photograph which Catherine took herself was a contemporary casual style that the Princess of Wales has supported. This style has made her and her family very popular with the public. Some people think that the picture may have meant something more to Camilla, the Wales's long-lasting and very popular legacy, which started with Diana and continues with her son and his family. People are starting to perceive Princess Charlotte as a powerful combination of her mother's grace, her father's sense of duty, and her late grandmother, Diana's star power. This persistent shining reminder in her own house may have been annoying for a queen who was still trying to win the hearts of her people. She has her own grandkids, says one person. She is very proud of them and has tried to include them in royal life, like having them as pages of honor at the coronation. It's not crazy to suppose that she wants the spotlight to remain on her family as it is today, with her as its matriarch instead of always being compared to the family that might have been. Whatever the exact reason, wanting to have her space back, feeling insecure for a minute, or making a planned maneuver to show her new power, the command was issued. The royal staff, who had been taught to follow orders without making a sound, did as they were told. The frame was carefully taken off its hook, covered in protective felt, and put in a storage unit within an hour. There was no letter left, and no explanation given to the rest of the family. There was only an empty place where a child's brilliant grin used to be. Camilla probably thought that the public wouldn't notice what she did, and that the family would see it as a little change. She had spent years learning how to have a silent effect on people. But in this case, she didn't realize how emotionally and symbolically heavy her target was. She had taken out a corner piece from a castle where every picture is part of a beautifully planned jigsaw. She didn't only change the look of a wall, she changed the story. And by doing so, she had brought out the protective instincts of a father who had already lost one family member to the palace machine and was adamant that it would not happen again. A staffer's moral dilemma. The leak. That changed everything. For a few days, the workers quietly spoke about the missing picture. A rule of silence that had been in place for hundreds of years of royal service kept people from speaking up. But the quiet was full with disdain. Eleanor, the longtime housekeeper who had a lot of regard for the Princess of Wales, was the one who eventually broke it. Eleanor has worked for 3 royal families over the course of 20 years. She had seen scandals come and go, and secrets hidden behind polished mahogany and velvet draperies. But this was different. It wasn't a big spectacular betrayal. It was a modest, nasty act against a kid. To her, it was intolerable. She had been cleaning in a nearby hallway when she saw the 2 assistants take down the picture. She knew who the top aide was, and that he only did what the queen or king told him to do. She stood there with her duster in mid-air and watched as the picture of Princess Charlotte, her lovely locks and confident smile, was thrown away like an old piece of furniture. Eleanor, who had previously seen Charlotte happily chasing butterflies in the grounds at Balmoral, felt a rush of protective rage. Why is this happening to that child, she pondered. She fought with her conscience for 2 days. Speaking up might cost her her job, her pension, and her whole career. Royal personnel are the ones that maintain secrets, and loyalty is the most important thing to them. But she was caught between devotion and duty. Was it to the institution and its current king or queen, or to the future of that institution which was represented by the young family at Kensington Palace? She had a prearranged phone meeting with a former co-worker, a lady she trusted completely, who was now part of the Kensington Palace administrative staff. The point of the conversation was to talk about how to make plans for an event that was coming up. After the formal business was done, her companion said, "How's everything going on your end?" "Everything's quiet." Eleanor paused for a split second, and then the words came out soft, yet strong. "Not really. They've taken her away. Charlotte. The photo of the birthday party in the gallery is gone, by the Queen's commands." There was a shocked hush on the other end of the line, and then someone said, "You're kidding." Eleanor moaned, "I wish I was. I saw it with my own eyes." That one bold revelation was what set everything off. The news didn't get out to the press. It went via the monarchy's own informal network, which is like a grapevine of loyalty and long-term connections that works far better than any official route. Eleanor's acquaintance told a higher-up advisor at Kensington, who was believed to have the Prince of Wales's full confidence. They took great care of the information. It was compared to what other staff members had seen, which made it more believable. A footman who had worked for William before told another footman that he had heard Eleanor's account and knew it was true. He is believed to have responded, "If Eleanor is talking, it's serious." She would never put her job on the line for rumor. Prince William found out within 24 hours following Eleanor's call. He didn't hear the news from the scandalous headlines of a tabloid. Instead, he heard it from the quiet, devoted voices of the same individuals who had previously kept his mother's secrets and were now watching over his children's smiles. It was no longer a matter of whether the picture had been taken down. The question was, why? And William, who grew up in a culture where titles and tradition frequently hide the truth, understood it was time to ask for an explanation. William learns about a prince's anger and a king's plan. It was late at night in Adelaide Cottage, the Waleses' little house on the Windsor estate. The kids were sleeping. The Prince of Wales was going over papers for the Duchy of Cornwall in his study when one of his most trusted private secretaries asked for a minute. The assistant came in with a serious look on his face and gave the prince a single folded piece of paper. It included a short factual explanation of what happened at Clarence House, ending with the Queen Consort's direct instruction being confirmed. William read it twice. His face remained calm and royal, but anyone who knew him well would have seen the symptoms of a storm coming. His jaw was slightly tense, and his eyes were chilly. He put the paper on his desk without saying anything. This wasn't just a piece of decor for William. It was a horrible, visceral echo of the past. Trying to hurt or kill a member of his family on purpose was the worst thing that had ever happened to him. He was quickly taken back to his youth, to the War of the Waleses, when his mother Diana was pushed to the side more and more, her voice hushed, and her image quietly eliminated from the royal narrative to make room for Camilla. As a child, he had seen how the system could eat someone up and spit them out. He promised himself that it would never happen again while he was in charge. He stepped up to the mantelpiece where a bunch of family pictures were. There was George looking serious in his school uniform, Louis with cake on his face and a big smile on his face at his last birthday, and Charlotte with her hair braided much like her mother's. He stretched out and reflexively moved the frame of Charlotte's picture, a modest, protective act. This wasn't simply about Camilla's lack of confidence. It was about the system she now worked for, which still thought it had the right to choose who was important. William had made a choice within 1 hour. He wouldn't get into a battle of whispers or tell the press his side of the story. That was how things used to be. He would go about things in a straightforward, clear, and unquestionable manner. He called his private secretary back into the office. He said in a hushed but firm voice, "I want the official inventories from Clarence House pulled. I want a record of every curatorial choice made on the East Gallery in the previous month. I need names, dates, and the precise words of any directions. Give me the facts." The squad moved out quickly and quietly. William wasn't going to face his stepmother with only his feelings. He would show her proof. He would not only act like an angry parent, but also, as the Prince of Wales, the successor to the throne, showing his dominance within the family. That night he sat with Catherine. She already understood the essentials from her own staff, and her face was pale. "I didn't want to upset you with it until we were sure," she replied softly. William shook his head. His wrath was now mixed with a frigid determination. "That is too far, Kath. She is not a piece on their chessboard. She is our child." Catherine's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't weep. There was a power in her quiet that had formed the foundation of their family. "What are you going to do?" she inquired. He said, "I'll fix it." Camilla may have taken down a picture, but William was going to put back a lot more than a picture. He was going to bring back a principle. He was ready to remind everyone in the monarchy and the globe that no one can remove a Wales without addressing the strong legacy that comes with it. The confrontation, a fight of wills. Behind closed doors. There was a lot of unsaid tension in the air at Clarence House the next day. The staff walked quietly and respectfully, their footsteps muffled by the soft carpeting. Everyone knew that a confrontation was coming. When the Prince of Wales's automobile drove into the private courtyard, it was clear that he was alone. There were no advisors on either side, no press secretary, and no security detail other than his chauffeur. This wasn't an official visit. It was for personal reasons. People who watched him go through the halls said his shoulders were set with determination and his eyes were full of fire. Queen Camilla was in the white drawing room, a big yet formal room going over briefings for a charity event that was coming up. When a footman came in and said softly, "His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, ma'am," she glanced up and for a moment she appeared surprised. It was really strange for William to come by himself without telling anybody. He was at the door before she could properly get herself together. She got up and moved with the smooth elegance she had learned over the years. She was ready to disarm him with charm. "William, what a nice surprise." Her appeal hit a wall of ice. William didn't grin. He didn't move to kiss her on the cheek. He stayed standing just inside the room with his coat on. He stared her straight in the eye, and his voice was cold as he asked her one simple, terrible question. "Why was Charlotte's picture taken down?" A stillness fell over the gilded chamber that was so deep it seemed like it was sucking the breath out. It went on for a long, uncomfortable time. Camilla blinked, and for a moment she lost her cool. "It was just a small change to the curation, darling," she eventually said, trying to sound light-hearted, although her voice sounded a little weaker than normal. "The area was getting a new look." William did not turn aside. He didn't move his eyes. "George's picture is still there. Louis's is still there. Charlotte's was the only one taken away. So I'm asking you again why—" His voice wasn't loud, but it had a lot of power. It was the voice of a future king, and she had never heard him use that tone with her before. Camilla put her papers on the old desk to help herself stay stable. William, that wasn't intended to be rude. It was only an issue of balance in the picture. You know how touchy these things can be, like how the press and the people see them? William didn't raise his voice this time. He cut her off with the cold, hard edge of reality. "Is this about how others see you, or is it about how you feel about them? Let's not act like this is about art. This has to do with legacy. You don't get to choose who is in this family's tale. The allegation was strong and clear, and it lingered in the air. It cut through years of carefully built family harmony. Camilla's face became tense. The lady who usually had a well-thought-out response was mute for the first time. She had been confronted directly not by the bratty youngster she used to know, but by the strong man he had become. William kept looking at her for a few more seconds, allowing the meaning of his words sink in. After that, he made his point and left. He stopped at the door and glanced back to say his last non-negotiable word. "Put the picture back," he murmured in a quiet final voice. "Put it back. In public, or I will. And I promise you that my version of the tale will be far less private." He then left, and the stillness that followed was even thicker and more stifling than the one he had come in with. Something very important had changed in that room. A boy who had grown up seeing his mother slowly disappear from the story had just drawn a line in the sand with ironclad resolution. He was now a father, and he was ready to safeguard the next generation with a might that no one, not even a queen, could stop. Welcome back to our channel, where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we bring you some news: the portrait's triumphant return. A statement in a gold frame. When the correction arrived, it was just as calm and planned as the first transgression. There was no public apology or news announcement. But within 48 hours of William's arrival, the message was received and acted on. A car from the Royal Collection Trust was observed entering Clarence House on a rainy Thursday morning. An art conservator and two of the Queen's top advisors were in charge of putting the pieces back together. This was not a job for junior people. It was being done at the highest level, which showed how important it was. The picture of Princess Charlotte was taken out of storage. But it wasn't put back in the East Gallery where it used to be, which was a more humble place. Instead, it was moved to a new, far more important place at the bottom of the grand staircase, which is a main part of the home that everyone from family members to foreign dignitaries uses. The picture was also put in a new, more elaborate gold frame that was a little bigger than the one it was in previously. A little polished brass plate had been attached to the bottom of it. The writing was simple, yet strong: Princess Charlotte of Wales, Her Royal Highness, the monarchy's future. It wasn't simply a picture of the family anymore. It was an official statement. It wasn't simply a restoration, it was an improvement that made her important to the public. The news that the painting was back went through the royal network like wildfire. A source within Clarence House said that the Prince of Wales directly suggested the reinstallation and new conspicuous location. This happened after what the aide called an internal family clarification. Those who knew how to speak palace speak understood the code. Clarification signified that William had made the rules clear, and they had been followed. Staff said that Queen Camilla stopped for a long time as she went by the stairs later that day. She gazed at the new frame, the strong inscription, and the picture. It was hard to tell what she was feeling. She wasn't furious or resentful, just motionless. She didn't say anything and kept going. She realized she had been outsmarted. The picture was back, but it was heavier than it had ever been. It was now telling a narrative, a story about a family that wouldn't change. People in Kensington were quietly relieved when they heard the news. Catherine told Charlotte in a soft voice that her picture was back at Grandpa's house. She told her that sometimes adults make mistakes, but love and family always make things right again. Why did they take it down? Charlotte is said to have inquired in a frank way, like a toddler. Catherine stopped for a while to think about what to say. Maybe they forgot for a moment how special you are, she added quietly. But Daddy told them again. Even though this event happened behind closed doors, it has changed the power dynamics of the monarchy. The future king made a strong and clear move against what Camilla may have thought was a subtle show of her power. The photograph is now proudly and truthfully framed and sits in the middle of Clarence House. It is a quiet monument to a father's love and a prince's strength. What was softly taken away has come back with a shout that is not noise but meaning. Charlotte's position in the royal family is now inscribed in memory and on paint, and it will be protected with a determination that will not be questioned again. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.